She mocked me. A true man takes care of the woman he loves. After I suggested we share the expenses, I admitted, "You're right." Then I made sure to support the one who really valued me, my mother. She learned this when I used the money we'd been saving for our future to buy her a house. For as long as I can remember, my life has been about creating something lasting. I started my carpentry business at 22, using an old truck and a set of used tools I purchased with my high school savings from working 2 jobs. For 15 years, I poured all my effort, sweat, blood, and every extra cent into that business. I built it up from nothing into something I'm proud of. I mention this not to boast, but to make it clear. I understand the worth of hard work. I know what it means to provide. For the past 4 years, I believed I was building a life with my girlfriend, Sarah. When she moved into the house I owned 2 years ago, I was glad to support her. Though she had a decent income as a marketing coordinator, my earnings were much higher. So I took care of the mortgage, utilities, and car payments. I never asked her for any money. I saw it as my duty, my role as the man of the house, and I took pride in offering her a stable, comfortable life. We enjoyed nice meals and vacations, and she never had to worry about bills. In my mind, that was the foundation for our future. My ideas about providing come from my mother. My father died when I was young, and my mom raised my sister and me alone. She worked 2 or even 3 jobs, as a waitress, a cleaner, anything to ensure we had a roof over our heads and food on the table. I watched her come home utterly exhausted, yet she never complained. She gave up everything for us. She provided, and her example became the very basis of my understanding of taking care of one's family. Now retired, she lives on a small pension in a rundown apartment across town. She's never asked for anything from me. But my dream, the guiding force for years, was to become successful enough to one day buy her a small house with a garden where she could finally rest. I shared this dream with Sarah, who thought it was charming. I believed we were a team working toward a shared goal. Me, offering financial security, and her adding partnership, support, and an emotional foundation. I now see that our ideas of partnership were completely different. About 6 months ago, I decided it was time to take a significant step. Not marriage just yet, but buying what we thought would be our dream home together. The house I owned was nice, but it was only a starter home. I wanted to create a place for our future family. I had been saving aggressively for years, setting aside a large sum from my business profits in an account I named the Future Fund. A fund large enough for a substantial down payment on a beautiful home in a great neighborhood. One night, I presented the idea to Sarah. I laid out brochures from a real estate agent and showed her the balance on my banking app. Her eyes widened when she saw the numbers, and she quickly got excited about the possibility of a larger, more impressive home. For the next few weeks, house hunting consumed our lives. We toured stunning properties, each one larger and more costly than the last. Sarah, with her expensive taste, fell for an expansive 5-bedroom house boasting a gourmet kitchen and a 3-car garage. It was right at the upper edge of our budget, a stretch for us, but she insisted it was the one. Being a numbers guy, I sat down to crunch the figures. With my future fund for the down payment, we could manage the mortgage, but it would be tight at first. Our savings would nearly vanish. To avoid being house poor and still manage to save, we'd need to temporarily adjust our finances. This is where our problems began. I showed her a simple 1-year budget spreadsheet. It explained that if we temporarily divided our lower regular household expenses, utilities, groceries, internet, right down the middle 50-50, we could save an extra $10,000 over the year. That extra $10,000 would act as a safety net, a fund for furniture, a buffer for unwanted surprises. The plan was practical and logical, designed to make her dream home a realistic goal. It was a test of our partnership. I was asking her to take on a small, temporary share of the expenses for a huge future benefit. I explained it calmly. This wasn't about me paying everything, but about her covering her own half of the basics for 1 year, so we could comfortably afford the mansion she desired. I expected her to agree, to see the plan's sense and appreciate our mutual effort. Instead, she looked at me as if I'd sprouted another head. Sarah stared at the spreadsheet on my laptop, then at me, her face twisted with disdain. She didn't seem disappointed, she looked disgusted. Then came a short, harsh laugh, a sound I'd never heard before. "You've got to be joking," she scoffed. I was stunned. "What do you mean?" "This is just a temporary plan to help us save money as a team." "A team?" she repeated with heavy sarcasm. No, David, this is about you being stingy. With all that cash sitting there, she said, waving her hand indignantly at the screen displaying my savings. And now you expect me to pay even for the electricity after everything I do for you. I was confused. Everything I do for you? What are you talking about, Sarah? I support you. Supported you? I support your business. I drag myself to your tedious company dinners, listen to you drone on about wood grains and building permits. That's my contribution. Mine is simply being here. I was speechless. To her, simply existing was work that should earn compensation. The life I had worked hard to provide wasn't seen as a gift, it was her paycheck. And now I was asking her for less. So, let me get this straight, I said slowly. You want that $500,000 house, but you're not willing to help with even the water bill to make it happen? That's not my job, she snapped. My responsibility is being your partner, to build a beautiful home and host parties. Your role is to provide for that life. A real man takes care of the woman he loves. That was the moment our 4-year relationship unraveled completely. Sarah wasn't just rejecting my plan. She was dismissing the whole notion of real partnership. She twisted an old, narrow idea of masculinity into a tool to justify her greed and sense of entitlement. She wasn't seeking a partner, she wanted a benefactor. In that instant, all the love I had for her turned bitter. I looked at her, a once beautiful woman now transformed into a stranger with a sneer. I closed my laptop, took a long, deep breath, and managed a calm smile. You know what, Sarah? I said quietly. You're right. A real man takes care of the woman who truly supports him. Thanks for opening my eyes. Her anger melted into a smug, self-satisfied grin as she believed she had forced me back into my role as the provider. But what she didn't know was that I had already reevaluated everything. I realized that the woman I truly cared for, the one who had always been there for me, was my mother. The following morning, I woke up a changed man. The part of me that had envisioned a future with Sarah was gone. In its place was someone with a clear new purpose. While Sarah went off to work, completely unaware and humming as she mentally designed her dream kitchen, I didn't go to my workshop. Instead, I closed my office door and began a new project, a project about honoring the past. It was about repaying a 30-year debt of love. I spent the day talking with real estate agents, but not about any 5-bedroom mansion. I was looking for a specific type of property, a small, single-story, 2-bedroom house with a nice yard in a quiet, safe area no more than 10 minutes from my own home. This was to be the perfect retirement home for my mom. I found a realtor who specialized in the type of properties I needed. I explained that I had a firm budget, I was paying in cash, and I needed to move quickly. The term cash buyer really grabbed attention. By the end of the day, she had a list of 5 potential homes for me to see the next morning. For the next 2 weeks, I lived a double life. To Sarah, I remained the devoted boyfriend diligently working to secure her dream house. I'd show her listings for expensive mansions, nodding as she excitedly discussed paint choices and landscaping ideas. But she barely noticed how distracted I was, always on my phone, taking long lunches, leaving work early. In secret, I was on a mission. I toured the 5 houses, and the third one was just right. A charming brick house on a quiet street lined with trees, featuring a new roof, updated plumbing, and a sunny backyard perfect for a garden. It was modest but solid, exactly what my mother deserved. I made a full-price, all-cash offer that very day without any financing conditions. The seller accepted immediately, and we set a closing date just 2 weeks later. In less than a month, from the first call to receiving the keys, everything was set. While the lawyers and inspectors did their work, I moved on to furnishing the home. I enlisted the help of my sister, who was in on the plan and had promised to keep it secret. Together we went on several shopping trips. We didn't just buy furniture, we created an atmosphere. A new bed, a couch, a dining table, a television, along with all the little things like pots, pans, dishes, and towels. We had everything delivered not directly to the house, but to a storage unit I had rented. The final piece was crucial. I met with my lawyer, the same Mr. Davies from that disastrous prenup meeting, and told him to draw up the deed. The new house wouldn't be in my name at all. It was to be entirely and solely in my mother's name, Carol Miller. I was giving her the house outright, no mortgage, no liens, no strings attached. It was her home and her security for the rest of her life. Mr. Davies gave me a rare, genuine smile. Now this is a smart investment, he said. The closing took place on a Friday. I signed the papers, and the keys to my mother's new house were given to me. It was one of the proudest moments of my life. That weekend, while Sarah was out celebrating with friends and splurging with my credit card, my sister, a few trusted employees, and I moved all the new furniture from the storage unit into the house. By Saturday evening, what had once been an empty building transformed into a welcoming home. The next day, I told my mom we were going out for a special lunch. She thought we'd visit her favorite diner, but instead, I drove her to the quiet neighborhood. I pulled up in front of the little brick house, where a large red bow adorned the front door. "What's this, David? Whose house is it?" she asked, puzzled. "It's yours, Mom," I said, my voice thick with emotion. I stepped out, walked over, and handed her a shiny key. "Welcome home." Her face lit up with tears of pure joy, disbelief, and gratitude. After all her life of sacrificing to provide for us, she was finally being cared for. We spent the rest of the day exploring her new home, a day I will cherish forever. That night, I returned to my own home. Sarah was on the couch, looking at photos of the new designer handbag she'd just bought. "There you are," she said, sounding nonchalant. "Were you having a good day?" "I had the best day," I replied honestly. For the first time in months, I was speaking the complete truth. The final act came the next evening. I sat Sarah down on our couch, the very spot where she had once sneered at me. "Sarah," I began, "I've thought a lot about our talk on finances. You were right. A true man takes care of the woman in his life who really deserves it." She smiled, looking self-satisfied. "I'm glad you finally understand, honey." "I do," I said. So I took our entire future fund, the money we were saving for a dream house, and I used it to care for the one who mattered most. Her smile faltered as she asked, "What do you mean? Did you put a bigger down payment on the house we wanted?" "No," I said. I pulled out my phone and showed her a picture from the day before. My mother standing on the porch of her new home, her face radiating pure joy as she clutched the key. Sarah stared, shocked. "Whose house is that?" she whispered. "It's my mom's house," I explained. "I bought it for her, completely paid off. Our future fund is now hers, because you made it clear you'd never truly be a partner." Her smug grin vanished, replaced by utter disbelief. "You spent our money on a house for your mother?" she murmured, her voice trembling. "No, Sarah," I replied gently. "I spent my own money. The money I earned and saved. The money you felt entitled to but refused to help contribute. Our future is gone because you were never interested in being a true partner." I stood up. "I think it's time for you to leave. My home is no longer for someone who doesn't share my values." She didn't cry or yell. She simply sat in stunned silence. The elaborate web of entitlement and manipulation she'd built had collapsed under the weight of a single, pure act of love and real provision. She thought she was entitled to a mansion, but in the end, she ended up with nothing, while the woman who deserved everything finally got a home of her own. And that, I realized, is the kind of legacy that lasts forever.